Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the I Know About Sports podcast. I'm your host, Noah Arnold, and today we're just going to be doing a predictions and previews of week 13 of the college football season. I can't believe it, man. We only have one more week after this of regular season college football. So then it's the conference championships, and then after this week, it's rivalry week, then it's conference titles, then we're in postseason play. Man, that time flies. Time flies too much. But yeah, so this episode, I'm going to do not only a prediction of this week, but I'm also going to be doing a kind of preview later down the line because I want to look at every team that's fighting for bowl eligibility. So this week, I'm looking at all the 4 and 6 teams at the moment. This is after I'm doing my predictions because all the 4 and 6 teams have to win their next 2 games in order to hold on. My dog's crying at my door. In order to make a bowl game, you have to make 6, and all teams that are 4 have to win. You have to finish with 6 wins, and all teams that are 4 and 6 have to win the next 2 games in order to make it. So I want to kind of give a preview as to the teams that are, everything's going to be on the line the next 2 weeks. We're going to start the predictions off with the biggest game of the weekend. College game days there. Top 5 matchup. Number 5 Indiana, undefeated, 10-0, the first 10-win season in Hoosier history. Travels to Columbus, take on the second-ranked Buckeyes. This is going to be the biggest game in Indiana football history. This is easily the biggest game they've had all season. Is going to decide the Hoosiers, they're going to make the playoffs or not. Tater, what are you doing? He is just yawned into the microphone. This game is going to come down to this game is going to decide if Indiana makes the playoffs or not. If the Hoosiers get blown out, they're out. Probably. At least that's what the committee has seemingly shown, and the media has seemingly shown that they're going to be out if they get blown out. If they lose close or win, they're in. But, this is going to be everything for Indiana. This game is going to come down to the IU run defense. They currently have the best run defense in America. But then again, they haven't really played anybody that can really test them. Ohio State has one of the best rushing attacks with Judkins and the crew. And you're going to have to see just how for real the Hoosier run defense is. If they can seemingly slow down Ohio State's running attack and make this a quarterback duel between Curtis Rourke and Will Howard, I think Indiana may have an advantage there. But I think with the home field advantage, with this elite Ohio State defense, I think the Buckeyes win this one around 31-21. I think they get a late touchdown to make the score look a little better for the Buckeyes. I think this is going to be a close game throughout, and then Ohio State gets like a late touchdown or field goal to make it a 2-score game. So I think this will be a pretty close contest, but I still think Ohio State pulls this one out. Second time. Number 9, Ole Miss travels to the Swamp to take on Florida. The Gators just pulled off a huge upset a week ago against LSU and now look to run it back and do it again. The 5-5 Gators have just have to win one more game this year to make it to the bowl, to a bowl game. Either this game or they play a 1-9 Florida State team next week that they're going to smoke them next week. Tater. Dog's growling at for some reason. So Ole Miss, I think it's a little different for the LSU game. They caught LSU at the perfect time. A team that was down in the dumps after their season got pretty much blasted over by Alabama. LSU season was done after that. And with Ole Miss, they have everything in front of them. They're playing red hot at the moment. And so I'm picking Ole Miss to pull this one off. Moving on to a Group of 5 matchup. It is a huge week at Conference USA. We're only going to do one of the games, but it's Sam Houston at Jacksonville State. It's the number 1 team in the Conference USA, undefeated in CUSA competition, Jacksonville State. taking on the third-ranked team in the conference, Sam Houston. And the reason I say it's a big day as well is kind of a mini playoff. The number 1 team, Jacksonville State, takes on the number 3 team in Sam Houston, and the number 2 team in the conference, Western Kentucky, plays the number 4 team in the conference, Liberty. And this whole weekend is going to decide who's going to be playing in the Conference USA championship game in 2 weeks. But in this matchup, I just think Jacksonville State's too good. Tyler Huff, quarterback, I saw him play 5 years ago for Presbyterian. Shout out to PC, the Blue Hose out in Clinton. But then he traveled up to Furman. I saw him play last year for Furman against South Carolina. And now he's playing for a shot to win a conference championship at the FBS level. So, wild ride for Tyler Huff. This Gamecock offense is elite. They have the 10th best scoring offense in the country, the 4th best rushing offense in the country behind their star running back, Trey Stewart. So I think it's been a great breakout season for Sam Houston in their second season at the FBS level. But I think Jacksonville State's winning this one, and they're going to be on their way to a CUSA championship game. As Tater is now in my lap. My dog is now in my lap. He's just be chilling here. He doesn't like it when I talk. He doesn't like it when anybody talks. The only FCS game I'll be doing this week is one of the biggest rivalries in America, and it has nothing to do with what happens on the field. It is Yale and Harvard. So when you think of Yale versus Harvard, you don't really think about the sports. But it's still a pretty good football rivalry, pretty historic football rivalry that features everything from billionaires, businessmen, to U.S. presidents between these two schools. But over the last decade, Yale has controlled this rivalry. But this season, this Harvard offense is on fire, and they're going to look to lock up a Ivy League championship with a win in this one. So give me the Crimson over the Yale Bulldogs. Halfway through the fifth game I have is number 4 Penn State traveling to what will be a very cold Minneapolis, Minnesota to take on the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. As I said on Tuesday's show, all the Nittany Lions have to do these next 2 games is just take care of business. They're going to be big favorites in both of these contests they have coming up. Just like in this one, all they have to do is just win, and you're in the playoffs. A road game in a freezing cold environment seemingly could be a trap game, but I think Penn State's play style is perfect to win these type of games in cold, disgusting, low-scoring environments. So give me the Nittany Lions in this one. What might be one of the biggest games of the weekend, this is a playoff eliminator game. Number 14 BYU travels to number 21 Arizona State. In the preseason Big 12 Bowl, Arizona State was picked to finish 16th out of 16th. In other words, dead last. BYU was picked to finish 13th. Now they are meeting in the second to last week of the regular season with a playoff and conference title eliminator game. The winner of this game seemingly will be playing in the conference championship for a spot in the college football playoffs, and the loser is out. On one side, the Sun Devils came in with a massive victory over Kansas State that knocked the Wildcats out of contention, while BYU just came off a devastating home loss to a sub-500 Kansas team. And I think that leads into this contest, and I would pick the Sun Devils. Cam Scatabo is one of those underrated running backs in America and will take it to this Cougar front that just could not slow down and just not contain the Jayhawks a week ago. Another big game involving the Big 12. Number 16 Colorado travels to Kansas City, Missouri, not Lawrence. This is going to be played at technically a neutral site contest at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City as the 16th ranked Buffaloes travel to play the Kansas Jayhawks, the team that just beat BYU a week ago. Kansas started their season 2-6, meaning if they lost one more game on the year, they would be eliminated from bowl contention. Since then, they've had 2 huge victories over Iowa State and BYU that seemingly just broke open the Big 12. Those 2 teams look like they're on a collision course with each other. But after they play Kansas, now they're both seemingly out of Big 12 competition and out of playoff contention as well. So can the Jayhawks, can they cause even more chaos in the Big 12? Unfortunately, I think the clock strikes midnight here. They've had great matchups facing teams without great explosive offenses the last couple weeks. They're not going to have that luxury this game against the Buffs. Yeah, it's like Kansas ranks 117th in the country in explosive plays. That's not going to be good enough. But I also think they're just a bit gassed after these last 2 weeks. I don't think Colorado's going to overlook them at all. And all business for Colorado as they look to not only make the playoffs, they look to have Travis Hunter win the Heisman Trophy. And playing in Kansas City, hey, maybe one of those two players will be playing. One of those two players will be playing in the NFL this year. Maybe they'll go number 1 overall to a place like Vegas, and they're going to be playing in Kansas City once a year. Maybe they're going to want to get used to that. Moving on to a night contest. It is a big one. Number 19 undefeated Army takes on number 6 Notre Dame from Yankee Stadium. Yes, the baseball stadium. So who would have thought a game being played at Yankee Stadium featuring Army would be a college football playoff eliminator game? Who would have thunk it? A loss seemingly knocks both of these teams out of contention. For the Irish, they're 6. A second loss to a Group of 5 team would do the trick for Notre Dame. That would be the nail in the coffin on their playoff chances after, of course, they lost Northern Illinois earlier this year. For Army, they seemingly have to keep up with Boise State and the Group of 5 playoff spot. Granted, if Army loses a close game and Boise loses another game this season, maybe Army could sneak up ahead of them. But you don't want to take that risk. Of course, with Notre Dame, they played another service academy team in Navy, who was undefeated heading into that contest. And we all know Notre Dame just killed the midshipmen right out the gate, forcing 6 turnovers on the way to a 51-14 ball game. But I don't think this is going to be like that game. Army is a much better, much more disciplined, much more veteran-led team with one of the best, most underrated quarterbacks in the country in Bryson Daly. And they have been in big environments like this. They have a veteran-led coach, veteran-led staff. They're not going to be overwhelmed with Notre Dame's size, speed, agility, and they're not going to make the same mistakes out the gate that Navy did to put themselves in such a big hole. Yeah, I'm crazy. I'm patriotic. Is this a dumb choice to pick Army to beat Notre Dame? Probably, but I'm doing it. I am doing it. I'm picking Army to go 10-0 now in the season and knock off the 6th-ranked team in the country. And if Army beats Notre Dame, they would have just beaten the 6th-ranked team in the country. In every other game they've played this year, Army has won by double digits, sometimes, most of the time, by way more than that. Like 20 to 30 points. Army may be a top 10 team if they can pull this one off, and I'm dead serious on that. So give me the Knights over this one. I'm crazy. I think Army matches up pretty well with Notre Dame. Because simply put, Notre Dame has to dominate you up front, and that's where they were able to beat Navy. I don't think they're going to be able to do that as well against Army, and Army's not going to be as shaken up. I think that's going to rattle Notre Dame. So a little Uno reverse psychological logic. Yeah, I'm probably picking with my heart rather than my head, but, USA. Moving on to the 2 nightcap games in the SEC. Number 15, Texas A&M travels to the Plains to take on Auburn. The line for this game is 2.5 points. That's stupid. Yeah, A&M could be looking ahead against Texas. Yeah, Jordan Hare Stadium has some wild shit happens sometimes. Weirdness happens in Jordan Hare in November. But Auburn I think that maybe they think Auburn's a decent running team, so they'd match up well against Texas A&M, because look at what Carolina did at home when they played A&M. Simply put, Auburn's not as good as Carolina. It's not a hot take. They have a worse defensive line, somehow have a worse O-line, and to put it lightly, the reason Carolina was able to dominate that game was because they have this guy you may have heard of named Lenore Sellers, who's pretty freaking good, while Auburn has a guy at quarterback named Peyton Thorne, who's pretty freaking bad. That's going to be the difference in this game. I think A&M crushes Auburn here. Not only are they going to cover the spread, 2.5 points, but they're going to win this game double digits. Speaking of double digits, number 7 Alabama travels to Norman to take on the Oklahoma Sooners. You may think it could be a trap game Saturday night. All Alabama has to do is handle business. They may look ahead to the Iron Bowl or even the SEC Championship. And you think, maybe they could lose to the Sooners. This is a terrible matchup for Oklahoma. If you want to beat Bama, you have to win top possession. You have to win on third down. You have to take it to their face, rushing the ball. Oklahoma, and you have to keep the ball, win on third downs, win time possession. Oklahoma just simply can't do that. They cannot pull that off. That's one of their big weaknesses. And not only that, their offense can't stay on the field ever. So yeah, this is, there's just no viable path for Oklahoma. I'm sorry to say that for the Sooners, because they have a guy named Arnold starting at quarterback, so I want to kind of root for him. They also have Brent Venables. I love Brent Venables. They just have no shot to win this game. Simple as that. I think Bama goes up pretty early, and that's going to be about all she wrote. So that is my predictions done all the way. Just for a recap, I have Ohio State over Indiana. I have Ole Miss beating Florida. I have Jacksonville State over Sam Houston. I have Harvard over Yale. I have Penn State over Minnesota. I have Arizona State over BYU. I have Colorado over Kansas. I have Army over Notre Dame. I have Texas A&M over Auburn, and I have Alabama over Oklahoma. That's at the start. Moving on to the 4 and 6 section of this program. So these are 15 teams who are all playing with their seasons on the line the next 2 weeks at the minimum. And if they lose Saturday as well, their bowl chances are done. So just want to give all these teams that are basically going to be playing with their backs on the wall fully this Saturday. And both tournaments actually start off with a Friday night game. Michigan State, 4 and 6, they're hosting a 1 and 9 Purdue team, so they should easily win that one. Wake Forest travels down to play number 8 Miami on the road. We need Clemson. We need either Demon Deacons or Syracuse to beat Miami. So we make the ACC championship game. We need one of those to happen. Maryland hosts 6 and 4 Iowa. Arizona travels to Fort Worth to take on a TCU team who's technically still alive for the playoffs because they could technically still win the conference. Kentucky travels on the road to play the third-ranked Texas Longhorns, so good luck, Wildcats. Kansas, as I mentioned earlier, they play Colorado in Arrowhead Stadium to take on Buffaloes. Northwestern travels to the Big House to take on the reigning national champion Michigan Wolverines, who, if they get a win, they hit their 6th win on the season, so both teams fighting for bowl eligibility. UCF travels up to Morgantown to take on a 5 and 5 West Virginia team who, yes, is still alive for the college football playoffs. The same way I have a chance to win the lottery. It's not a great chance, but a chance nonetheless. Louisiana Tech travels to Fayetteville to take on the Arkansas Razorbacks, who are also fighting for bowl eligibility. the Pac-12 championship game this week. It's the only two teams that are in the Pac-12 at the moment. Oregon State hosts Washington State. So Oregon State could even though they won't consider this a conference championship, me and the fans consider this a conference championship game as they are the only two teams in the conference. So Oregon State could win their conference without making a bowl game. That's just incredible. Houston hosts their in-state opponent, Baylor, one of their many in-state opponents. As I said, Auburn hosts Texas A&M in a primetime showdown. Another primetime showdown, Utah, who was projected to win the Big 12, is now fighting for bowl eligibility against the 22nd ranked Iowa State Cyclones. All 6 of Utah's losses have come in conference play. They're only 1-6 in Big 12 contest. Old Dominion, I watched them blow a 28-point lead in Jerry Richardson Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina, in the only famous Toastery Bowl in history to take place last season. And then week 1, I saw them nearly beat South Carolina. And now they're on their last legs to make a bowl game. Tough break from the Monarchs, man. Tough break. They had a very nice fan base in Charlotte, by the way. And the last team, the 15th team as well, is UCLA. The Bruins host USC in the Battle of LA. A Trojan team that's also fighting for bowl eligibility at 5-5. So those are the 15 teams that keep an eye on because they're going to be playing with their backs against the wall these next 2 weeks, but especially this Saturday as my dog Tater is doing a prairie dog next to it. He's standing on his 2 hind legs. He's still going. Oh, my God, he's still going. Look at him. Ooh-wee. Oh. Hey, he got it. That was a good one. Recap. Michigan State, Wake Forest, Maryland, Arizona, Kentucky, Kansas, Northwestern, UCF, Louisiana Tech, Oregon State, Houston, Auburn, Utah, Old Dominion, and UCLA are all playing with their backs against the wall this week. With that being said, thank you all for listening. Have a very safe Thanksgiving. Be very safe on your travels. I know a lot of people traveling on flights, driving many, many miles. I'm very lucky to not have to do that during holiday breaks. That being said, next week I only have one episode. I'll do a super episode on Tuesday because I'm not recording on Thanksgiving night. So I'll do a kind of super episode because it's rivalry week of college football. And Thanksgiving week. So thank you all and goodbye.